519-168. Council, very efficient use of the first hour and a half or so. The game plan is to get another hour and 10 minutes in and then take a break. If we can keep lunch to just under an hour, we'll have an hour, hour and a half. So we got about 2.5 hours in this session that we're looking at. It would benefit everyone to try to get everything in. We're going to do our best, okay? The next witness out of order for you.
Pam Capello.
How do you spell her last name?
C-O-P-E-L-L-O.
She can do it. She can spell it.
Is it Capello or Copello?
I think it's Capello.
It doesn't matter. She can confirm it. She knows how to spell it. Come on in, Miss Capello.
You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. Be seated.
Seats go away, but there's a microphone right in front of you.
Miss Capello, would you please just state your name and spell it for the record?
Pamela Capello, P-A-M-E-L-A-C-A-P-P-E-L-L-O.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, Ms. Capello. Thank you for being here. What was your initial involvement with Dustin and Danielle?
I met them through Child Haven when I was a foster parent, and Dustin was placed in my care when he was 4 months old.
And how long was he in your care?
7 months.
Did you understand the reasons for the placement? Has it ever been made clear to you?
It's so convoluted. I mean, it's been told to me several times. Would you like me to elaborate?
To the best of your information
Okay.
and belief as to why the child was taken from her by CPS in 2008.
Okay, I was told that Danielle had called in to report child porn within the building or the structures where she was living, and she was so upset when they arrived, and she became very anxious and agitated, and they felt that she was not capable of taking care of Dustin at that point. They were afraid for his safety.
Based on your observations, did you believe that the CPS taking the child out of the home was justified?
Objection, outside scope.
This is not her, she's not the right witness to
Very
answer
well,
that
Your Honor.
question. She did in fact receive the child for 7 months.
Correct.
All right, so she's a foster parent, and so the court can assume that that was under court supervision, right?
Yes.
All right, go on.
Okay, was there a CPS case plan that you were aware of after the child was placed with you?
Yes.
And did that have anything to do with, were there any requirements placed upon mom?
There were. She had to take parenting classes, and I believe, there were several stipulations that she had to follow in order to get Dustin back in her custody.
And to the best of your knowledge, did she follow those
She
requirements?
did. Absolutely.
When the child was placed with you, did you have contact? Did she have visitations?
She did. It's funny because from the very first day I met Danielle, she said, "I'd like you to remain a part of Dustin's life." And we kind of clicked right away, which is good because oftentimes the foster parents and the bio parents, it's not a good situation. And she always was at visitation. There might have been once or twice when her legs gave out on her that she couldn't make it, but she was always there. Even when she was at Shade Tree, sometimes I would pick her up. It was on my way there and do visitation, and she always wanted to see him.
After the foster care period was over, did you continue to maintain contact with Dustin and Danielle?
Yes, I did.
Can you describe I guess, the frequency of the contact?
Oh my goodness. It was maybe 3 times a week, sometimes more, because at that point when she left Shade Tree, I helped her find a place to live. So I was with her almost every day for 8 hours. And once she moved into the home, I mean, I was a constant there. And even when I still had placements, sometimes I would come over with my placements just to spend time with Dustin. But I was very involved in his, the first 4 years of his life. And then my life kind of changed where I've been traveling a lot, gone for 3 months, 2 months, and so I don't see him as often, but he still calls me, and I still call there or go there about every 2 months and spend time with him. So I've been a part of his life from when he was 4 months old.
During any of this time, did you have any contact with Dustin's father?
I met Jason the first time he came over to Danielle's apartment after he was identified as the father. I remember he came with a cousin, and there was about 3 or 4 of them. So it was just social, hi, how are you, that type thing. And I met him a second time at the house that Danielle is living in now. And we chatted briefly, you know, I hear you moved to California, and it was social conversation. That's the only times I've met him.
During the few did you during the few times that you observed him? So he was in the presence also of Danielle.
Correct.
Was there expressed animosity? Were they fighting? What was the nature of their relationship at that time that you could observe?
It was cordial. It wasn't uncomfortable. It was cordial. He had come to visit Dustin, and it was cordial.
So do you know if she actually facilitated the contact with Dad, or you don't know?
I don't recall.
How would you describe the nature of the relationship between Danielle and Dustin?
Oh my gosh. There has been the greatest bond I've ever seen between mother and child. Danielle has devoted her life to him. I have seen her delay major back surgery, major knee surgery, because a call will come in for issues at school or issues just happening in his medical life, and her life stops. She hasn't really gone anywhere or done anything since Dustin has been in her care. She's totally, totally devoted to him and him to her. They're like 2 little peas in a pod.
What is your educational background?
High school.
And do you have any, how did you become a foster mom?
When I moved here, I saw an ad to volunteer Child Haven. I've been a volunteer there for 10 years, and in that interim, I decided, maybe it's something I could do. I never had kids, and I thought I needed an outlet. And I was a foster mom for 5 years for newborn to 1-year-old babies.
So this wasn't your only child?
I have none. Oh, Dustin is
With regard to you
foster.
being a foster?
Oh, no, I've had a lot. They were all a lot of short placements, and then I also did respite in between, and when I didn't have any, I still volunteered at Child Haven.
Are you aware of Dustin's educational problems?
Oh, based on what I'm told, yes. I see where he's delayed. I have a nephew who's his same age, so I kind of compare, which isn't good, but he's very delayed. I know there's been instances at school. I know there's been a lot of issues with IEPs. And he's not where he should be, educationally wise.
Do you feel that his educational issues are due to some sort of instability with regard to Mom, or her lack of dedication?
I can't say it's lack of dedication. She has no.
Have you ever observed, and you've had quite a bit of contact with them, have you ever observed her to be just under the influence of drugs, or incapacitated and unable to care for her son because of that?
You know, Danielle has a very, very bad back and knees. I know the pain she goes through, because she's about 70% worse than the ones I have in my back. And she's been on some strong medications. I have never seen her abuse the medicine. I have never seen her do drugs. I've seen her when they would just put her on a new med and her body's getting acclimated. But even during that period, I would see her get up, hobble to him, and take care of him.
No more questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Root?
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
With what?
Just exhibits.
Sure.
Ma'am, when was the last time you were over at, have you been over at Danielle's house in 2016?
No,
Have you been over to her house in 2015?
yes.
And when was that? What month?
The last time was right before Christmas.
Okay. And before that, when were you over at Mom's house?
It could have been maybe November and September, because I was gone for 3.5 months.
Now, we're all here for the best interests of Dustin.
Exactly.
You know that. And have you ever seen a circumstance where you believe that Danielle may have been using illegal drugs?
No,
You've never been seen evidence of that in her behavior?
no.
Okay, I'd like you to go, I'm going to show you Exhibit 29, Bait 207. Did you ever read the juvenile file pertaining to Dustin during the time when you were foster mom for Dustin?
Do you know what? They didn't give me the
Okay.
juvenile. They gave me his medical. And
Oh, okay, I'd like you to read Bait 207. Read this paragraph out loud, please.
reports that the LVMPD responded to the mother's home as she called them, stating that some people were after her. The mother reported that she has an open feds case and that they record everything on her phone. The mother reported that her neighbors are trying to have sex with her and trying to get her to sell her baby for $10,000. The home was found to have no food or power, and there were animal feces in the bedroom. The mother was placed on a legal 2000 hold, and the baby was placed into protective custody.
Okay. Isn't that the reason why CPS had some concerns about Danielle at that time in 2008?
Yes, and I
Has
have,
Danielle ever mentioned to you anyone offering to buy her baby for $10,000?
you know, she did. Now that I'm reading that, that's what she had told me.
What did she tell you?
Exactly that.
Okay.
And I had totally forgot about that, and I had never seen that written.
Okay. Did she mention there's an open FBI case on her?
No.
Did she tell you that some people were after her?
That I don't recall.
That's all right. If you don't recall, you don't recall. Wouldn't that indicate someone who has a very disjointed state of mind?
Objection.
In your opinion as a layperson?
Repeat my objection.
Look, she's not qualified to offer an opinion as to the mental health of the defendant, then or now.
The only reason I mentioned it, Your Honor, was because
Well, I mean,
I'm fine.
the question needs to be, the objection to the question has to be sustained.
Yes, sir. Now, you mentioned that in 2008 you were the foster mother. Isn't it true that at that time, did Danielle tell you that the father of her child was Justin?
In 2008, she didn't know who the father was.
As a matter of fact, she said she gave two other fathers' names to the powers that be to go after. Is that correct? Before Justin?
Correct.
So at that point, Justin
Yes.
didn't know he was the father, and CPS didn't know he was the father. Is that accurate?
Right.
And you didn't know who the father was?
No, I didn't.
And does that, if you knew that Dustin had been absent for school, 2014-2015 year, over 140 times. Would that concern you pertaining to Dustin's education?
It would concern me.
And would you be concerned if you discovered that Danielle took Dustin out of school in approximately January of 2015?
I am aware of that.
Would that, does that concern you for Dustin's educational health?
It concerns me.
Thank you. And do you consider that to be devoting her life to Dustin?
At that time, she was still finding ways to get him educated. I know she brought in a tutor. I don't remember what time period.
Okay.
But I know she was trying to find ways. She's brought him to properly get him diagnosed medically, because that totally reflects on his educational needs.
Medically, in what way?
For his ADHD, his slow.
Did Danielle ever mention to you that she believes Dustin may have Down syndrome?
Never.
Did she mention to you that she believes Dustin has autism?
She has mentioned that to me.
Have you ever seen a report indicating that Dustin has autism?
No.
Okay. And you agree that Danielle is taking very strong medications for this bad back injury, is that correct?
Yes, she is.
And you indicated you believe she doesn't abuse meds, is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How often on a weekly basis have you seen Danielle in 2016?
I don't think I was there yet this year.
Okay, how about 2015? How often on a weekly basis have you seen Danielle in 2015?
Maybe once a month.
Okay, 2014?
It might have been a little more often. It got less and less as the
Okay,
years have
and
come.
obviously you're not there to
Daily.
count the number of pills and determine whether she's been taking more pills than prescribed.
No, and that's not my position.
I understand. All right, no further questions?
I'll pass the witness round.
Great. Were you subpoenaed to testify today?
No.
I want to thank you very much for your patience and your testimony. You're excused.
Thank you.
Just parties now.
Your Honor, there are no more extraneous witnesses other than the parties. And,
Great. So you want to start with your client or with the defendant?
I would like to start with my client, Your Honor.
Very good.
But we're not going to finish in obviously.
You got 50 minutes. Come on up.
Yeah, you have your report?
I believe they took it from me. Thank you, sir.
You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. Be seated.
No, we have a microphone right here. All right. Mr. Dustin, so I'll ask you.
You are Jason Vanburen, the father of Dustin,
Yes, sir.
and the plaintiff in this action.
Danielle Tyra,
And what's your age, sir?
33.
Are you? When did you meet Danielle?
Roughly 10 years ago, on a trip from California to Las Vegas. I resided out there
That would make it
at that time.
what year? 2006.
06, yeah.
And getting right to the heart of it, you know Dustin is your child, and he was born July 13, 2008. Is that correct?
Correct.
At the time Dustin was born, were you told by, well, let me back up a little bit. Did there come a time that you found out that Danielle was pregnant?
Yes.
And what did you do?
At that time, we didn't know who the father of the baby was. I was also told by Danielle that she couldn't have a child, that there was something wrong with her insides, according to her, that the child wouldn't be born.
Okay.
That this had happened to her before.
Did you ask Danielle if you were the father of the child?
Absolutely, yes.
And what was her response?
She didn't know. I was well aware of her having multiple relationships with other people at the time, so there was 4 other people in mind.
Okay. And did she tell you that you weren't the father, so it was none of your business?
During an argument, yes, she did say something of that nature, that when me and her were.
Were you aware in 2008 that Dustin was removed from Danielle's care? At the time, in 2008?
No.
Okay. Did you take a paternity test for Dustin?
Yes.
And when was that?
I believe in 2010.
And under what circumstances?
I was served paperwork from the district attorney to go take a paternity test.
So at
So
that
I
point,
did so.
at that point, did you know whether you were Dustin's father or not?
Not until after the test results came.
Okay? And establishing you're the father, is that correct?
Correct.
What contact, if any, did you have with Dustin from that time in 2010 to before the judge established your visitation in October of 2015?
Upon finding out that I was Dustin's father, I worked at Honest One Auto Care here in Las Vegas. I resided here in Las Vegas. I went to see, I didn't live too far from there, from where Dustin, Danielle, and her boyfriend at the time had resided. I would be over there close to every other day, possibly 3 to 5 days a week, sometimes more, sometimes a little less. I was still living in Las Vegas for 5 months, roughly 5 months, maybe 3 to 5 months. I'm not sure exactly the time period, but I was over there a lot, forming a bond with Dustin, though at the time she had him calling somebody else dad. She didn't have him calling me dad. She didn't. They actually approached me to possibly have that particular man take over rights for Dustin.
You mean terminate your rights?
Correct.
What was that man's name? Do you remember?
Eric Germano.
Okay. And we have exhibits pertaining to Mr. Germano's criminal record.
I
Is that
believe
correct?
so.
Now, with regard to did there come a time that you moved from Las Vegas to elsewhere?
Correct.
When was it?
Work got slow during that 5-month period that I did work there. Work got slow. I was just a cleanup hand and somewhat of an apprentice, learning mechanics. Work got slow for the business, so they kind of had to brush me off. It started slow with cutting back of hours, and then eventually they said, "Hey, you know, I can't continue paying you." So I had to seek work elsewhere. Like I said, I went to school out in California and worked out there when I did meet Danielle. So I was definitely interested in finishing up my schooling
So
out
bottom
there.
line, did you move?
Yes, I moved to California,
What part of California?
Huntington Beach.
Okay. And that's where you live to this day, is that
Yes, sir.
correct? And did you have certain problems before the birth of Dustin that you no longer have? Can you briefly describe what those were to the court?
Yes, I was just a troubled young adult teenager doing bad things, just doing drugs, weed, and methamphetamines. Aside from that, but a little trouble with the law here and there.
Okay.
Nothing serious, no felonies. I did do 7 months in the Clark County jail here. I turned myself in, actually, to get that squared away.
For what? For what?
I believe they gave me attempted possession of a stolen vehicle. I was never caught stealing a vehicle or in the act or in the vehicle at all. I was approached by a police officer at my house that told me that they knew that I was in a stolen vehicle at one time, which I was. Me and some of the neighborhood kids were joyriding in a stolen vehicle, and they came and took me to jail. And then
And
I
you
got,
say you turned yourself in, is that pursuant to a lifestyle change?
Absolutely.
When was that? When did you do the settlements?
Definitely '09. Had to be 2009.
Okay. And are you clean and sober now?
Yes, I have been for well over 5 years.
Okay, good for you. And have you broken the law in any way?
Not at all.
Last
I have
time?
no contact with police officers other than the
And if the
police
judge were to
officer
order,
kids that I...
are you on any prescription medications?
No,
at this
sir.
point? Do you take any prescription medications?
No, sir.
How's your health?
I take my health very seriously. I am in the gym 3 to 5 days a week. I eat healthy.
Do you smoke?
No, sir. I
Does
quit
Danielle
smoking.
smoke?
Yes, sir.
So if the judge, are you saying that if the judge were to order a drug test in 5 minutes, that you would you be concerned about that?
Not one bit.
So you moved to California, and in 2011? In 2011?
Yeah.
Okay, describe for the court from 2011, from the time of the move, until right up October of 2015, what contact, if any, did you have with Dustin? On a month, let's say monthly or semi-monthly basis?
Well, I went to work and school immediately, so I would be granted vacation time a week a year, or if we had holidays, things of that nature, I would definitely take the trip, and then I would also try to take maybe a Monday off during the weekend. So it was three months. Every 3 months, I would try to be here at one point, whether it be Christmas, Dustin's birthday, just if we had a holiday and I could make it happen, and I had the funds to make the trip.
Your vacation time?
Yes, sir.
And did you ever ask, during this time, did you ever ask Danielle if you could take Dustin back to California for a
Oh, yeah.
visit?
Absolutely.
And how many times did you ask her?
I made mention of it 3 or 4 times at the least.
And what, if anything, was her response?
Absolutely not. Half of the time when I did make the trip, I wasn't ready to see Dustin. I would be threatened with restraining orders, get multiple harassing text messages saying, "Don't show your face at my door. I'm nothing but a sperm donor. Dustin doesn't even care for you. That's why he doesn't call you dad." Just,
Despite Danielle's position, how would you describe the quality of your relationship with Dustin this time?
me and Dustin have an amazing relationship. We do quite a bit together. He definitely loves me. He definitely knows me as his father. He respects me. I believe we have a great relationship.
Okay. With regard to the TPO you mentioned, were you aware that Danielle obtained a TPO against you?
I was not made aware of that at all until I went and got all of Danielle's TPOs filed for and against her on my own 5 months ago when this proceeded, this court case.
Okay. And with regard to that, she claims, or were you ever served with a TPO
No,
of
sir.
any kind?
No, sir.
Okay.
Never by anybody.
Once you discovered that Danielle obtained a TPO against you, can you explain to the court briefly what you believe that was for?
I did discuss it with her. She said that I struck Dustin in his chest, and I know exactly what she's talking about. It was during one of my visits with Dustin. I bought him a trampoline for his birthday, a full-size trampoline. We were out on the trampoline horse playing, and an accident occurred. Nothing serious at all. Not one bit serious, where
What
my
kind of
elbow
accident?
hit his chest. He was hurt. He went in the house. I calmed him down, as did she. The week progressed. Nothing was ever brought up about it. I finished my visits with Dustin. It was never an issue that happened. But then later on down the line, apparently she decided to file a TPO for it because it happened during the middle of, I believe I was out there for a week. I bought the trampoline, we set it up, we had a great time.
Okay, now.
And I don't believe me and Mrs. Tyra ever had any altercation throughout that visit. So
What year was that? What year did that happen?
I'm going to say 2012 during during around Dustin's birthday. I don't think I was able to make it for his particular birthday date because I had to work. So I'm gonna.
Okay, and I'd like you to, I'm referencing Exhibit 14, which is an evidence, page 48, which indicates there was a TPO, the only TPO apparently that we're aware of, Danielle filed against you, is dated 3/20/2013 and it lasted a month.
Okay.
So my next question is, what paperwork, if any, were you served by Danielle
Nothing at all.
to
Never.
extend that?
Never, nothing at all.
Okay, so in your opinion, that was, and when was your child support established? Was that 2010 as well?
Yeah, immediately upon
Okay. Are you current on your
Paternity.
child support payments?
yes, I believe I owe $413 in not arrears. My arrears are completely squared off.
Well, explain to the court how much you paid with regard to arrears. Did they go back 4 years?
Oh, it went back all the way up until paternity was established.
What was the original amount of constructive arrears they established? 2,000, 3,000?
4,000, I believe, at a total after arrears and penalties, and I believe they charged me for the test itself.
Who, state of California? or
No,
something?
no, the state of California took over the case after.
Is that
the
who's
state of
handling
Nevada.
child support?
That's who I pay child support to. Correct.
So
They take my weekly out of my check.
So are
I
you
pay
current on your child support at this point?
all the way up until $300 or $413, I believe, is what I owe, and those are in penalties, just the penalties for the late payments and
But since the order to pay
arrears
child,
are clear.
but since the order to pay child support was established, you've been current on the current amount.
Yes,
Is that correct?
during times of unemployment between jobs, because I didn't immediately get the job. It was a couple of months before I got the job after moving to California, and then between jobs, there was times that I didn't pay, and it took some time for California to take over the case. I do admit that I was wrong by not immediately paying child support, but I frankly just couldn't, and I was working my way towards a point where I could, and I've gotten there.
How long ago was that where you couldn't pay?
From the time I moved to California up until possibly a year and a half after I really get established.
Okay. But since that would make it, see, 2011, 2012 and a half, from 2012 and a half to now, you've been current on your child support, right?
Been paying it, yes, correct.
All right. And it's been implied by the other side that this case is all about financial motivations on your part. Is that true or false?
Absolutely not, because I would think that if even the max of my child support would cost more for me to take on the responsibility of taking over Dustin. That's easily true.
Is money a factor?
Money is not at all a factor. This is about my son's well-being,
Okay.
100%.
Let's move on. Did you have conversations with Danielle about possibly getting your name on Dustin's birth certificate, hyphenated that situation?
Yeah.
And
I never cared for the last name. It wasn't a big issue. I just wanted proof that he was my son. I wanted to be a part of his life. I wanted my name on the birth certificate.
And what was her position to you?
The first couple of times, which was a couple years back, she didn't care for it. She would always brush me off, just like when I would try to come to town to see Dustin. Then most recently, when I got my job, my current career as a marine construction engineer, I've been there for a year and a half. Immediately upon that job, I was given medical insurance, medical, dental, vision, prescription, full coverage, Anthem Blue Cross, great benefits. I pay for me and my son. I tried
How much do you pay for your son's medical benefits?
I would.
Just
I don't-
bottom line, basically. I know you've got your pay stubs and evidence, but
Right.
from what you can remember.
They probably take $100 and some odd dollars
Does that
For
cover,
me and him, yes, for me and him.
does that
I-
cover dental too?
Yes, dental, vision, medical, prescription.
Did there ever come a point that Danielle said you'd have to take her to court to change his name?
You mean to be on the birth certificate?
Yeah.
Yes. I tried to get a copy and my name on the birth certificate for the insurance purposes, because immediately one of the steps was show proof that this is your child. So I approached Danielle about it, and she didn't care for me to have it. I was able to get him the insurance still by going other routes, showing child support orders and whatnot. So he did get insured, and he has been insured for a year and a month now,
Okay.
and it hasn't been used once.
Do you recall last year in court, the judge ordered that Danielle give you a list of Dustin's medical and mental health providers?
Yes.
Has that been done by Danielle?
No, I mentioned it to her once. She said she would do it. I didn't feel I needed to mention it to her any more than that, because once he says it should be done immediately. But upon her having specific doctor's appointments for Dustin, I would ask for information so that I could possibly be involved, be present, and I received text saying that she doesn't have to give me shit. Can I curse in here? Because I'm gonna.
No, if you're
She doesn't have to give me S and
Okay,
number
are you
of harassing.
paraphrasing what Danielle said? Or are
Yes,
you
I have
literally
proof of
stating
that.
it?
Yes,
Okay.
she says I don't have to give you S.
And is that evidenced by an exhibit that we have?
I believe so.
Okay. We'll go over that in a minute. Since you moved to California, what problems, if any, have you had in talking to Dustin on the telephone?
There's times when I don't have a problem at all. There's times when I've called for a few days and the phone doesn't even give me a ring. It goes straight to voicemail. I don't know if her phone is dead for 3 days at a time, or if she blocks my phone number so that I can't get a hold of him. That would be my assumption, because I can't see how anybody would have a phone dead for a week at a time.
When you say dead, what do you mean?
Meaning that
When you
when
call,
I
what
call, I
happens?
get no answer, no ringtone. It goes straight to voicemail.
Okay. How often on a weekly basis between 2011 and 2015 did you call?
There's long periods of time
Danielle.
that I didn't call, because I would just receive nothing but threatening, harassing text messages, up to hundreds at a time, at all hours of the night while I'm at work. I have
From whom?
from Danielle.
Saying what?
A lot of curse words, threatening with restraining orders, slander on me and my mom, just calling me a piece of crap, and so on, saying I have no business in Dustin's life. I have, don't show up at her house.
Has that been her position from 2011?
That's been her position, and her mood changes. It'll change in the same day. I'll get these harassing text messages, and then 30 minutes later, she'll try to be cool with me, or try to be nice. Or when it comes down to Christmas time, hey, are you coming down? After I just received 3 months of, harassment.
What drug use, if any, by Danielle have you witnessed personally?
I've witnessed her smoking meth and weed.
Okay,
And
give me a date, a general date.
okay.
When did this occur?
One I'd like to speak about, Christmas and New Year's of 2013.
Okay.
I drove from California to Las Vegas to spend the Christmas with my son. Upon the arrival, I walked into Danielle's house. The first thing I was greeted by was her daughter Jessica Stevens and her boyfriend at the time, or current boyfriend Trent, don't know his last name. They were rolling a joint on the couch with Dustin, running around in front of him like it was nothing. And I guess that's normal to them, because they do smoke cigarettes in the house always, and that's always
Are
been
you
a concern
referring
of
to a
mine.
cigarette, or are you
No,
referring
I'm referring to the joint. So
Are you referring to marijuana?
yes, marijuana joint. They offered.
Do you know the difference between marijuana and tobacco?
Absolutely. They offered me. I knew what they were rolling. They offered me. I said no. They continued to smoke it in the house. I expressed somewhat concern, but I try to watch what I say to keep me from being pushed away from Dustin. So when I do express concerns or an argument is about to arise between me and Danielle, I try to keep it cool, just for the sake that I want to spend some time with my son, or else I wind up just getting pushed out and sent these messages, threatened with restraining orders and whatnot. So that was upon my arrival.
Okay.
Upon my descent, which was, I believe, the 2nd, right after New Year's, Danielle, it was me, Danielle, and Dustin. I believe my Uncle Charles was there with me too, because Danielle did let me take Dustin out of the house at that time. I brought Dustin to his grandmother's for a couple of hours, and my Uncle Charles.
Specify the name of the grandmother? Carol
his-
Allen?
Carol Allen and Betty Anderson.
Okay.
They're both a big part of Dustin's life, or try very hard to be. Anyways, to what I was saying, Danielle knew I was leaving town. It was getting late, not super late, the sun was going down. She knew I needed to get back to California and get to work. She came out into the living room and pointed at me, said, "Hey, if you want to come back." She went back to her room and sent me a text message saying, "Hey, do you want to come back and smoke? I know you have a smoke meth," is obviously what she was insinuating that we do, because she knew that I had a long drive home, and she was apparently worried that I might fall asleep, which I was fine, and I denied. She knew that I hadn't touched the stuff for quite some time. I think that
And
was going on 2.5 years since
What,
I
if
had,
anything, was your response to Danielle?
was no, I'm fine, that's okay. And then I left and
Can I
drove
just get
home.
a date when the second, what's this incident?
Yeah, I believe you had testified New Year's 2013? Is that right?
New
Around the
Year's
second?
2013, correct.
New Year's vacation 2013?
Yes.
Um,
And then the fall, I believe that's what it was, yeah. The following Christmas was the one I didn't get to see Dustin.
And did you observe, obviously you observed Danielle frequently during that week, is that correct?
I observed Danielle frequently
Yeah.
during
Based on your
all
observations,
visits.
Based on your observations, did you see anything in her behavior that concerned you?
Always. It's,
Briefly specify.
I used to do the stuff myself, so I know what the characteristic flaws
What
are.
characteristics in her did you see?
Drooping eyes, pupils dilated, sucked in face, or disjointed speaking. When you speak too fast for anybody to understand, and then start making sentences come together, and all of a sudden everything you're talking about makes absolutely no sense, which is the case in 50% of the conversations that I have with Danielle. And I've witnessed her off of it, and I've seen, and I can tell the difference. I know what people on meth look like, and sound like, and act like. And I can see it when she's not, and I can see it when she is. And I've told her, that I know what she's up to.
Did you come to Danielle and say, hey, look, and try to bring this out to a resolution that maybe she should stop doing this?
Objection, leading.
Restate the question, please.
What conversations, if any, did you have with Danielle over from 2011 to 2015 pertaining to her drug use?
That I don't approve of it.
Did you ever offer
I don't approve of
solutions?
it being around my son. I don't approve of her friends doing it around my son, her daughter doing it around my son. I don't approve of it. I would prefer, whether she had a child or not, to not do it. It's not a good thing. I know that.
Have you ever seen Danielle giving alcohol to Dustin?
Yeah, when he was 2 years old, Danielle and her boyfriend at the time, Eric
Can you
Germano,
briefly describe what you saw?
they drink liquor at her house a lot. They had liquor on the table. Dustin was a 2-year-old toddler running around the house. They thought it was funny when he grabbed a bottle of liquor and started drinking it.
And what, if any, response did you have?
I wasn't cool with that either. That was probably me and Danielle's first argument, was that and her smoking in the house. And at that time I smoked cigarettes. and I was not cool with it. I smoked cigarettes outside of the house during that 5-month period when I was forming the bond with Dustin. That I believe was our first argument, and I wasn't happy with
Well,
him
what was
doing
the
it.
argument about?
About me telling them that I didn't care for them to smoke in the house with my son, and them thinking that it was
Beer.
funny and cool to let Dustin drink out of their bottle of beer.
And what, if anything, was Danielle's response to you?
Combative. About the smoking, she says, "Oh, the air we breathe already is toxified," or whatever. I forget what terminology she used for it. She actually said that to me just a couple of weeks ago when I expressed concerns about it, because she still smokes like a chimney in the house with Dustin there, and I don't like it.
Okay, how long, do you smoke?
Cigarettes? No. I don't smoke anything.
How long have you quit smoking cigarettes?
I quit smoking cigarettes 2 years ago. I do vape, and
You do what?
It's kind of like a way of quitting smoking cigarettes.
Do you have
It's a
it with you?
vaporizer. Yeah, I do.
Okay, can you show
I
the
don't
judge
use it in
briefly
front
what
of
you're talking
Dustin
about?
though.
I think we all know what a vape is, Your Honor.
Yeah.
I don't need a demonstration.
Yeah, I
Yes,
think so.
How do you feel about, do you know if during these years, 2011 and 2015, have you ever heard Dustin using profane language?
Oh, absolutely.
And how do you feel about children using profane language?
I don't think it's a good thing at all.
Have you talked to Danielle about this?
Yeah,
And what, if anything, has been her response?
combative response.
So, obviously, you formed a bond with Dustin between 2010 and 2015, is that correct?
Correct.
And based on your observations, what problems, if any, does Dustin have regarding respect for authority or guidelines in Danielle's care?
In Danielle's care, he seems to have a huge problem with it. I feel that I've gotten it all under control, but when it comes to Dustin and Danielle, he's very quick to act out and misbehave.
Can you
Start
give
throwing things, hitting people, scratching people, whether it be his mom or his friends or anybody. Yeah, I can give an example. Is that what you wanted?
Yes, well, you've given us examples.
An example would be his last birthday party.
Which
I
is
came
when?
down
July 13, 2015?
last year. Yes, sir.
Okay.
We had held it at a bounce house place here in Las Vegas. On our way there, Dustin was in the back seat with his friends. He started acting out because he wasn't getting his way. I don't remember exactly what it was, but he was acting out. Started beating on his friends, scratching, screaming, grabbing at his mom in the front seat. Me and his mom were in the front seat of my truck. Dustin and his two friends were in the back seat. He was acting completely unruly. And first, since I'm driving, I can't do what I normally do. But when he was reaching into the front seat, I grabbed his arm and I put him back down. I said, "Chill out. You need to hang out here." Then once we got to where we were going, I pulled him out aside. I sat him down, one on one, me and him. This is what I do every time my son gets disruptive. I pull him aside to a quiet place, one on one. I sit him down, look him in his eye. I explain to him how much I love him, that he's my best friend in the world, and that how he's acting isn't proper, and that we can't be acting like that. We can't act that way, and there will be punishments for that bad behavior. And right then, immediately, it works every time. Danielle witnessed it. She even asked me how
When
I
you say
did it.
it works, can you explain to the judge what you're
He's
talking
good
about?
from there on.
Okay.
He doesn't need to be hit or beat on or screamed at or cursed at. It works that's just how I believe.
Have you seen Danielle scream or curse
Oh
at
yeah,
Dustin?
when Danielle and Dustin get into it, it's either she screams and curses at him, they're swinging at each other, it becomes a big issue, or Danielle turns what he did into a joke to make it seem okay, and which I believe that is even worse.
Can you give the judge an example of what you're talking about? Turn it into a joke. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
if Dustin's cursing, saying curse words, or acting out, she'll laugh at it. You know, She'll say, "Oh, don't say that," and make it funny. Make it funny to where he thinks that it's okay and he can get away with it.
And since the judge established your current visitation, you've taken Dustin back to California, is that correct?
Yes.
Have you had any
When I was granted, yes.
Have you had any behavioral problems with him?
No, I use the same method. I use the same method, and I've never had to go past that. I believe you get rewarded for good behavior, discipline for bad behavior. Discipline would come after that, and I've never had to do that.
Now, you've talked with Mr. Tamiano and Mr. Boxa.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe this behavior that you're describing in Dustin is, they call it oppositional defiance, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And what boundaries and guidelines have you observed that Danielle has for Dustin in her care?
There aren't really many boundaries or guidelines. He does what he wants and gets what he wants, whether it be junk food at all times, video games at all times. I've witnessed her try to put him in timeout in his room, and it doesn't last long. He throws a fit, starts destroying the house, kicking the doors, screaming, kicking and screaming. It doesn't last long before he's out of the house. And I've expressed to her how that's only hindering him and it's prolonging even worse behavior. And I try to work with Danielle on it. Granted, me and her are seeing eye to eye at the moment, which is rare, very rare.
Do you believe Danielle has a problem controlling Dustin in her care?
I know she does. I believe she does, yes.
Okay. Do you have a problem with Dustin's behavior in your care?
No. He still needs some work. I'm not going to sit here and try and say my son's a perfect angel. I haven't had enough time to really tackle his emotional problems or his oppositionally defiant behavior, but I can see a big change, especially in my presence.
Okay, well, since you brought that up, let's talk about that. What plans, if any, do you have? Well, first of all, why did you file this current litigation to obtain primary custody of Dustin? Why did you do that?
Because I've come to the realization that things were not getting any better. I know I probably should have done this a long time ago, but I've just been hoping things would get better educationally, or Dustin's behavior, or possibly me, and Danielle coming to terms where it's okay for me to come and see Dustin instead of just getting bombarded with harassing text messages or threats of TPOs, and it never got better. It got progressively worse, way worse.
Are you very concerned about Dustin and Danielle?
Very concerned.
And it's already in evidence his many absences. How many times has Dustin been absent? 2014, 2015. Well, we'll get to that.
Okay. Yeah, because there's a lot in there.
And I guess if you are allowed to have primary custody, can you tell the court your plan and goals for Dustin?
All right. Well, number one, I've already been in contact with the Sylvan Learning Center about an after-school program or possible summer school. I know he's at a kindergarten level, and he's in 2nd grade, and I've already talked to the school that they plan on just throwing him into 3rd grade, because that's what they do. After 1st grade, they don't.
Are you talking about here in Las Vegas?
Yeah, when I was at the school last week, they had already basically had him enrolled for the 3rd grade, and that is not good in my opinion, unless he can make a huge leap educationally. I've been in contact with the Sylvan Learning Center about summer school, possible after-school programs. I've also been in contact with Stacy Austin. She runs the after-school program and is a 1st through 5th grade teacher at Church by the Sea in Newport Beach. She's agreed to assess Dustin. She's already met Dustin on his last 2 visits in California. She's already met him and agreed to assessing him and tutoring him after school and during the summer. I'm a member of a gym. Dustin's name is already on that membership, so that when I go to the gym, there's a kids room where they have learning and athletic classes. He would definitely be a part of that. I coach football. I'm tired of coaching other people's kids. I'd like to coach Dustin. I know he's capable of it.
Do you think that would be good for Justin?
For Dustin, yeah,
Dustin to be
I know
involved
it
in
would be good
sports.
for him. I know it would be good for him. I'd like to make sure that I have his behavior under control before I go throwing him into other situations where I'm not there. For instance, the kids' gym or anything of that nature. But I see an advancement already, just given the time that the judges has granted me, the time that I have spent with Dustin every other weekend.
How do you feel about diet, correct food?
That's a
Can you
huge
explain
part.
to
I
the
think
court briefly what your goals are for Dustin?
eating more healthy, grains, fruits, less soda, popsicles, pizza and McDonald's, all the things that I witness he eats now. I've expressed concern to Danielle about that too, and I just get combative replies that are mean, saying, what are you saying? I don't feed my kid healthy, and yeah, I don't believe he gets fed healthy. I believe that he's been given what he wants all his life, so if he wants soda and candy for dinner, he pretty much gets it. Doesn't mean that I'm in any way trying to keep him from ever having McDonald's. I'm not one of those, and pizza, I think that's a reward. For good behavior, let's go to McDonald's. Not McDonald's every day. I think that's also plays a huge part in school. And
Specify, you mean
his
the
sleep.
consumption of sugar, you mean?
Yeah. And his insomnia, his ADHD. I think I do a lot of reading on it. I'm in the gym a lot. I read a lot of health magazines. And a lot of it is specified for kids too. That a healthy diet can change a lot of things as far as sleep habits, school. I feel a lot better when I work out. I know he would too. Right now, he just currently plays video games all day and sits in the house.
So you believe in holistic medicine, basically?
Absolutely.
And you'd be willing to, that's one of your goals, to try that in Dustin's life?
Absolutely. It's already implemented in his life when he's with me. He eats 3 healthy meals a day. Sometimes we'll do a McDonald's or we'll do a Chuck E. Cheese, but when he's with me, we go to sleep at a normal time, we wake up at a normal time, we eat together at the table.
Your Honor, do I still have time, or am I?
You can see the clock.
Yes,
We're
sir.
going to recess at noon.
Yes, sir. Let's turn to Evictions 2015. Did there come a time that you were contacted by Danielle in 2015 with regard to a possible eviction?
Yeah.
And when was that?
Okay, are we looking at, that was last year, I believe June or July.
And did she call you, text you?
She just sent me text messages
And what, if anything, did her text say?
that she needed to come up with $1,000, and if I paid her $1,000, she would tell the child support office that she would pay that she would say I paid $2,000.
Okay,
And I was completely against that. I told her no, I don't want any part of that fraudulent activity, and I made the call myself after making the $1,000 payment to Danielle to make sure that didn't happen, because that would go stricken against me.
I'd like you to turn to Exhibit 3, date 6 through 12, page 6.
Gotcha. Page 6?
Date, page, yeah, 6.
Okay.
Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, this is an evidence already, this is a text from Danielle, right?
Yes.
Can you tell the judge what, exactly and precisely what Danielle wanted you to do with regard to this eviction? I believe that's on page...
Should I read? Yeah, that's on page 7. Do you want me to read?
Yes, I want you to read it from
Okay.
so to out.
They won't take a penny less, so I'm gonna go ahead and ask if you have 1,000, and I need it wired to me tonight to be back up at the courts when doors open, so they're not at my door first thing kicking us out. If you are able to do this, I will give you or send you, we can notarize, and I will say you paid me $2,000.
Okay, and you didn't want to have anything to do with that, is that correct?
Not the fraud, I wanted to help and I did help. I
What if?
had that $1,000 down to them immediately.
Okay, that's my next question. Did you in fact help Danielle out?
Absolutely,
Because you didn't want to see your boy on the street, is that correct?
absolutely.
And how did you pay the $1,000? How did you get it to her?
I wired it to my mother. I didn't want to just give her the $1,000 cash. I wanted to
Why?
make sure, because it seemed fishy. I already knew her rent was only $300 a month, and I know, considering how much I had paid in child support during those months, that was close to enough to just pay for the rent. So I wanted to make sure, so I did a little bit of investigating as far as calling CENTA or calling the HUD. She had sent us, Danielle wound up sending me pictures of the eviction notice, and I sent,
Who did?
Danielle
Okay.
sent me pictures of the eviction notice and the thing on her door. So I had my mother, since I was in California, I was working, I had her go to Western Union, get the money, put it in money order form, and deliver it personally.
Personally to who?
I believe they delivered it personally to, now, I don't know if it was
The
sent.
housing authority?
Yes, the housing authority.
Okay. So her rent was paid, right?
Yeah, for her back rent was paid, I guess. The rent for that month hadn't been paid yet.
Okay. Did there come a time the next month that you received a communication from Danielle with regard to another eviction?
Yes, yes. And this was, I was first contacted by her daughter, because I guess Danielle didn't want to contact me about it, and Jessica had told me that,
Objection
or,
to what Jessica said.
Yeah, listen carefully to Mr. Root's question. He didn't ask you to recount something that was said by somebody else.
okay.
Yeah, just tell a story.
Yeah, I received a text that Danielle needed to come up with another $300 and some odd to pay her rent, or they were kicking her out, and I was
When was that?
a month later, I believe.
Okay. And what did you do?
I was baffled, to be honest. I thought we had
This
just...
is after you paid the $1,000?
Yeah, right after I paid the $1,000.
Did you have conversations with Danielle about this?
Yeah, I tried, well, like I just said earlier, we were speaking through Jessica because Danielle didn't want to talk to me about it. I don't know if she was ashamed, I don't know.
We don't want to mention what Jessica said.
Okay, yes. I did eventually wind up speaking to Danielle about it.
Okay.
And her
what did
claim was there was a bank error, then that's why she didn't have the money. And I said, I will do what I can, but I can't just come up with that money right off the top. You know, I just gave you the $1,000 last month. Let me shuffle some things around. Let me see where I'm at and see what I can do to help.
How much was she asking?
314, I believe, is what we wound up paying.
So,
I think at that point she was asking for more, but when it came down to it, because there was 2 or 3 days that Danielle did get evicted. She didn't come up with the money. Her and Dustin were on the street. I didn't know where they were. I offered to take Dustin.
and what was her, you offered to take Dustin during
Yeah.
that time. What, if any, response?
Absolutely not. She said that I'll never see Dustin again, that Dustin, she had Dustin send me a text message or a voicemail saying, "Thanks a lot, Dad, thanks a lot. You didn't come up with the money to pay my rent. Now you lose everything. How nice. Have a nice life." I have that on my phone still.
How old was Dustin at that time?
It was last year. It was after his, no, it was before his birthday. This was before his birthday, so he was 6.
Okay. And did you speak to, you ended up paying more money, is that correct?
Yeah, I wound up eventually when she was on the street, or they did find a place to go, but she told me that she wouldn't tell me where they were going to be, and she was going to change her number. Eventually, she wound up getting in contact with us again, and I did do the same exact thing I found out how much she needed. We paid it. They got back into the house.
Now, you've heard testimony that from Danielle's own witnesses, one of Danielle's witnesses, that she's heavily medicated.
Yeah, I'm well aware of that.
Objection,
Based
that
on-
mischaracterizes the testimony.
It
Your
does.
Honor, I can tell you which witness it was.
It doesn't matter, you don't need to. The court is the finder of fact and heard the testimony. Just ask the question you were gonna ask,
Yes, Your Honor.
instead of commentating on the testimony of other witnesses.
With regard to, have you ever seen from 2011 to 2015, during the times that you were allowed to see Dustin and her care, have you ever observed Danielle using alcohol or drinking, consuming alcohol?
Yeah.
Say again?
Yeah.
And how often did you observe that from 2011 to 2015 during these visits to see Dustin?
I see her drinking alcohol. I wouldn't consider Danielle a heavy alcoholic who drinks every day, who needs to go out and get a tall can first thing in the morning. But she has liquor at her house, and I've witnessed her drinking it, a few times a year that I wind up visiting. I'd say half of the time she has a drink.
Have you ever witnessed her stealing alcohol from the store?
Yeah, I did witness her stealing.
And when was
Putting
that?
liquor in Dustin's stroller, and that was when he was
Can you
2.
briefly, hold on. When was that?
During that 5 months that I was still living in Las Vegas.
What year was that? 2010?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you briefly tell the court what happened?
Me and Danielle went to the grocery store, not far from her house.
Object on relevance grounds, what happened in 2008? Does the
Listen,
court want to hear it?
it's really an objection as to whether it's material, but that conduct is relevant. I don't know how material it is, but I'm gonna let him
Okay.
answer the question overall.
Okay. Yeah, 2010, Dustin was 2, in a stroller. We went to the store, Danielle and me were shopping for food, and she stuffed a bottle of liquor, I don't remember what brand, but into Dustin's stroller carriage, where it opens and closes. She stuffed it in where it closes to where it was stashed. I told her I wasn't cool with it. I didn't want to be walking out with her with it. I didn't walk out with her with it. I said you should put it back because, number one, she's got her kid. She gets caught. Where's that kid going? To jail. I'm not even on the birth certificate. Or the kid's going to CPS while she goes to jail, or Child Haven. I didn't walk out with her with it. She said she does it all the time. That's what happened.
Okay, and the same exhibit, Exhibit 3-8, did Danielle admit doing this?
Oh, yeah.
Can you read that to the judge very briefly?
So I read the whole thing? Yeah.
No, just from you to that.
Okay. You wanna bring up stupid shit like I jacked a bottle of alcohol 7 years ago, big fucking deal, punk ass snitch. You know why I say that. I was told you moved because someone wants a piece of your ass for snitching them off, and you threw them down, so you did a little time in jail as they went to prison. You a fucking nigger, and I bet your mom is Darnell's whore.
Stop right there.
Okay.
Then she says, yeah, your mind is deadly for Dustin.
Yeah.
Why would she say that to you?
It's just one of the numerous texts that I get from her all the time, that she thinks that I'm deadly for Dustin, that
What
I
does she
don't
mean
know
by
why.
that?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Has she said that to you before?
Yeah, she doesn't think that I care for Dustin or that I want to help him, but everything that I do proves that.
Have you ever talked to Danielle about the benefits of healthy eating in
Yeah.
relation to cutting out sugar and possibly eliminating the ADHD medications?
Yeah.
And what was, how often have you talked to her about that?
It's a big part of my life, so I do talk to her about it often. Sometimes she's on board. There was actually a time when we were getting along at the time, so she took into consideration what I had to say.
When was that?
When was that?
Yeah,
Maybe last year.
okay.
But more than most of the time when I do it, she gets combative with me and says, what are you claiming I don't feed him healthy, or things of that nature. But I do mention things like that to her, that could help in a lot of ways.
Counsel, we'll secure the room if you want to leave your stuff here. If you can get back here just before 1 o'clock, we'll resume at that time.
Yes, sir.
Take an hour for lunch and
Leave the
serve-
book here, right?
Sure. Just be careful stepping down, sir. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you in an hour.